sky. This is how we're gonna fly. March to the future, neon glow. Through the fire we will grow. Every move a deadly flow. Next gen rising, let it show. Eyes ahead, the rhythm calls. Stand up tall, we break the walls. Train it up, train it high. Next gen reaching for the sky. Push the limit, don't ask why. This is how we're gonna fly.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Next Gen Training here on the Sparta HQ Network. I am Mr. Bennett, and hopefully, I'll be joined soon by my partner, as always, the coach, Coach Ferg, in the building tonight. Good to have you guys here on this Thursday edition. Looking forward to this conversation, a continuation of a conversation that we started on coaching, and certainly looking forward to that. Certainly, as you guys come in tonight, just want to just cover a few ground rules and bases as you come in. First of all, make sure you hit the like button. Certainly, when you come in tonight, consider becoming a subscriber to the Sparta HQ Network. We have shows throughout the week on various topics and themes. So I'm sure you'll find something to your liking. In fact, later this week, I think we're going to be launching a wrestling show. So if you guys who are fans of professional wrestling, there's going to be a show that's going to be airing in the near future. So you can certainly be a part of that conversation. And so certainly looking forward to that show launching here on the network. But again, as we certainly as you come in tonight, certainly those who are going to be part of the chat, the only thing we ask is that you be respectful tonight. So again, no personal attacks, insults, or threats, offensive language, including slurs based on race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation. Be courteous and polite to other viewers as well as those certainly in the chat. But as I said earlier, certainly consider, certainly becoming a member, a member of the chat. And I'm trying to get my guy up here saying that the link isn't working. So hopefully I can get him here in a minute. Pete, if you're still out there, if you can help me as far as getting him the link, I thought I sent it. Let me try to see if I can send it again and we can get the coach in. But while we're waiting for the coach to come up, as usual, we start the show with an evaluation. We like to know how you're doing in your PIES, 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 physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual health. All these things are major, important pieces of our lives, and it's important that we take care of all of those things. Certainly as we live this life, especially in this fast-changing times, making sure that all aspects of the self is taken care of physically. How you doing? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you exercising? Are you in a good health place? Are you getting the care that you need mentally, physically from professionals? Intellectual, what are you learning? Are you learning something new every day? Is that something that you're focusing on? Emotionally, how you doing, with that, managing your emotions? We're not saying there's nothing wrong with being emotional. A lot of times it's about when and where and when to use, but we're human beings, we're not robots at the end of the day. So, but having control over your emotions and not letting your emotions control you is always important. And then your spiritual base, wherever that comes from, if you believe in a God or no God at all, but where do you get, outside of yourself? Where do you get inspiration? Where do you get the motivation to do things different and better than may have been done before? So, these are things that you may want to really focus on as you endeavor on becoming a better version of yourself, and that's something we always encourage here, certainly within this space. And part of why me and Coach, why we love doing this show. We never did this show for likes or clicks or anything, but we enjoy helping people. It's what we do in our vocations and our outside of our jobs and whatnot. We enjoy seeing people be better in all aspects of their lives. And so this here is a labor of love for us, and we appreciate you guys um, being here. So again, I'm trying to get the coach on. He's saying that the link isn't working, but like I said, but Pete, um, see if you can get him into the show or get him the right link. I sent you the link as well to see if we can help Coach get on air with us tonight. And but just to kind of give you guys a little summary of kind of where I'm at. Physically, I'm feeling pretty good. Minor aches and pains here and there. My bicep, just strain because I do a lot of pulling, a lot of body weight, a lot of barbell type of work. So a bit of strain there, but otherwise feeling pretty good. Very strong. I had a deep tissue massage this past week, helped to break up some of that soreness and muscle tissue. But physically, I'm feeling very good. Certainly for my age. Intellectual, I'm learning all the time. And I'm looking forward to certainly new challenges in the workplace. We got new technology coming in, so just looking forward to embracing the future. So always trying to stay intellectually sharp. And my emotional and spiritual to kind of go together because I do believe in higher power, and certainly um, that lets me know who I am and whose I am. And so that does a great deal to help me with my emotions. And again, I used to be growing up, I was a very emotional person. And like I said, I still am. But again, I don't let those emotions overcome me. And I try my best to, always think with clarity and whatnot and guide my emotions in the right direction. So those are things that I'm always certainly working on, continuing to work on. But a lot of that comes to my own personal study and reading spiritual and reading the scriptures, studying scriptures, and not only that, but then having to go up and have to teach it. I think there's something there. You become a student more times than not when you are teaching, and so being in that position where you can go and and do those things. One, you have to know what you're talking about, but then also you have to go in and understand it yourself before you can help other people have any type of understanding. So those are things that I've always tried to just try to grow in. And so yeah, so we'll take it from there. Still waiting for the coach. Hopefully he'll pop up here any second. And Pete, if you can help me out with the uh, um, coach getting on, and that would be useful. But I think certainly to kind of get the show started, I'm just going to keep with the just announcements and whatnot just before the show gets started. Before we do that, just want to acknowledge my friend here. He's been a known Eric for over 40 years, and so good to have him on here tonight. Following us on this topic tonight, so really appreciate his support on all the shows that we do here, and so again, good friend and friend for life. So really appreciate Eric hanging out with me tonight. But certainly for those of you, if you want to not necessarily be if you want to be a part of conversation going forward. So again, one of the things we talked about what we want to do with this platform is we want to have a Q&A. We want to be able to have um, opportunities for people certainly to ask their questions, to us about the various topics that we cover. So, we have an email, NXTGEN Training 101, Next Gen Training 101 at gmail.com. And, so here you can drop questions there if you have questions on anything that we cover on this show, in aspects of coaching or working with young people or self improvement, anything that we can ask. Between me and Coach, we got about 110, 113 years of wisdom between us. We may not have necessarily all the right answers, but certainly you are free to drop your questions there. And what we want to do is we want to be able to air your questions on the show and have you part of the conversation and talk about those things in depth. So you help us because we've talked about a lot of different areas on this show since we started this show last May. And so certainly we want to keep the content going, but we want to do things in a way that benefit people. And so if you have some questions that need to be answered, if you haven't found answers to your questions in the previous platforms or in the previous shows that we've done, certainly drop a question and we'll make that the topic for the show and we'll deal with your question. Just give your name, and again, it doesn't have to be a full name, but give your at least your first name and where you're from. And certainly that would certainly buoy us because certainly you never know who's watching these spaces here, and so anything that you can do to help us, um, promote promote not only the channel but also again to be a benefit to other people. So if you can help us with that, that'd be terrific. And so with that, though, I'm going to kind of start with the show. And again, so waiting for Coach to get here. Hopefully we can work this out where you can get into the certainly into the show, and we'll take it from there. But we want to again continue the conversation that we started. So we're talking about coaching, all right. And again, last week's show we spent a lot of time talking about um, the different types of professions. There's coaching, there's training, there's mentors, there's consultants. So, there's different aspects that deal with things separately. All those things can overlap. And you can certainly, even in your position as a coach, you can take on any one of those positions depending on the circumstances, depending on the audience and the need of the time. So, there's definitely overlap between those four. But we spend a great deal of time wanting to make sure that we understand the distinctions between them. And so me, I look at myself more so as a trainer than as a coach, in at least in terms of how it's classically defined. But certainly, if you organize a team or if you coach a team, just various positions or whatnot, or working with multiple people, that's a different thing. I'm more one to one, so definitely more client based in my approach. But again, there's some overlap there where I've had to be a coaching because coaching oftentimes deals with the long term, whereas training is much more specific to the task at hand. And so being able to be available to people is important. But just as we defined coaching last week, so we talked about coach again, one who inspires dreams and motivates you to achieve them, or a person who builds your character and potential through belief and encouragement, and someone who touches your life forever. So again, a trainer. Trainers may come and go, and even sometimes even now, especially we talked about this last week on another. I hosted a sports show last night, and we talked about all the NFL coaching vacancies, and certainly coaches can come and go as well. A few coaches have had a tenure like Mike Tomlin, who was just who just left, and Jim Harbaugh, who seemed like he's about to get another coaching position with the Giants. But that being said, they can come and go. But again, in terms of those who had, coaches oftentimes think about the long term. And that is one of the reasons why, because again, I just remember just a lot of the coaches I had. I was never a good athlete, but a lot of coaches that I had, they still had impact on my life, and just some of the things they said. Sometimes I still remember them, so they can certainly make an impact in your life long term. And so certainly that is something that that is certainly something that can a coach can really be instrumental, certainly in your development. Um, but we wanted to start the show tonight. So last week again, we talked about the different professions, coaching, training, like I said, consultants and mentors. Um, but here we want to focus a little bit more on the player. Okay, taking this more into a sports arena, but you can really take this into a lot of different areas as well. But we're going to kind of narrow our focus a little bit on sports and talk about the different aspects of coaching. Like, so where does coaching start? And I think a lot of it really it goes based on this list here. What do you want? So you join a team, or if you come for, like I said, a trainer. um, Really, this is the first question that really needs to be asked. Why do you want to be a part of this? Um, and certainly for young people, certainly a lot of these attributes here are certainly a part of it. They want to play, which again, that's big with me. I know me and Coach, we disagree a little bit on that, especially when it comes to younger kids. I can't stand folks who, you say you want to be a part of something, but you give very little effort as if you don't want to be there. My thing is, if you don't want to be here, then don't be here. But again, sometimes with young kids, sometimes bringing them out of their shell and whatnot and exposing them to things and getting, maybe if they try, maybe they'll learn to like it, is something that, certainly, um, you have to be patient with sometimes. With me, I just can't stand because, again, the fact that I wasn't a great athlete, I did at the best I could uh, um, to be part of it. And everybody knew that I wanted to be. I wasn't very good. I knew I was going to be have a lot of playing time. But for me, just being on the team was a big thing for me. Having not played any organized sports until I was 14 years old, and so that was that was a big deal to me back then. But some guys, have a lot of talent and they don't apply themselves all that well. So, but I think a lot of that is about coaching. About, again, you want to get the best out of your players, and you have to ask yourself the question: well, what do these guys want? And again, so some wanting to play is to me, that's the big one. Do you love uh the activity that you're doing? Do you love the sport for the sport itself? Um and that's important. Knowing their name, having their name called on the PA system when they score a basket or score a touchdown or something, having their name. Back in the day, it was cool to get your name in the paper. We don't really have newspapers like that anymore, but you had your local paper and then the sports section there. In fact, I used to do. I was a team manager for a season. I got cut. I didn't make the team, but I was a team manager, so I would have to go and give to the papers the names and scores of the players, on our team from from the games that we participated in. So knowing that, people, yes, had fun. I think some people, some coaches, I think sometimes take the games too seriously. I mean, certainly winning is important, but again, you take the fun out of it. That's never good. Pleasing their parents, education. I mean, some look at sports as a doorway to education. Go back and watch our show on Travel Team that talks about some of that competition, exercise and fitness, having friends, positive motivation, achievement, recognition, dominance, physical challenge, respect, a safe place to play, with rules and regulations, getting away from home. Because again, I've known players who've done that. Sports was their ticket out of a dire situation, impoverished situation, and of course, winning. So again, I think you can win and have fun at the same time. And again, unfortunately, not every coach believes that. Some things that um, the environment has to be miserable, but certainly having fun is a major aspect of it, and oftentimes winning is fun. Losing, may be fun sometimes, but it stinks to lose. And so trying to help people, um, establish that. Now, again, this is, you would see this, like I said, in a sort of in a team sport type of environment, but I see this also from a training point of view in terms of getting people uh, getting a better understanding of why they want to train. Not only that, why they're hiring me. I mean, if you're going to hire me to be a trainer or you want to bring me in, that's a commitment. And so, why do you want to do it? And because a lot of times, people have sometimes unrealistic expectations about, they see somebody in the magazines or whatever, this very fit person, and sometimes their expectations are not realistic. I mean, your body's your body. The only thing I can help you with is to have a better version of the body that you have, but I can't make you look like someone else. And I've had people who've done that, and I had to kind of tell them, look, I might not be the one for you because you can't accept who you are. And so some people are shorter, some people are wider, some people, you have what you have, and we can improve on that and make it better. But if you don't learn to embrace the person that you are, those things are not going to fly very well. But again, but in the conversation, in the initial conversation that I may have with someone, I want to ask these questions, and I want to make sure that that they have a good perspective, and that they're realistic, and that they give me something where I think they can commit to something for a period of time. Um, so all those things are important with assessing the player. Once you know what a player wants, then you can focus on how do you motivate. And again, and that's going to be different for every person. Not everyone's cookie cutter. Now, again, I've had coaches in the past where they treat everybody the same, scream at every player. So they're not playing the game of the sensitive person, or trying to understand. It's like, look, this is a dictatorship, and you either fall in line or you fall out. And but nowadays I'm seeing, especially with more modern methods, understanding a player, what motivates them, what makes them tick. Some kids need to be yelled at, and some need a pat on the back. What do do? So again, some of the coaching philosophy has changed over the years, where you take into consideration, find out what their hot buttons are, and then you motivate them in those ways in order to them to perform better, and to be better. Just checking here with coach, see if I can get him on. But you certainly want to be able to you know find that for a young person, in order to get them to perform. But even as a trainer, again, having that understanding. I mean, usually if someone comes to me for a sports purpose, then it's pretty clear what they're there for. They want to get stronger, they want to get faster, they want more muscle for the sport they're participating in. But for a mom, a suburban mom, what motivates her? And I've done some of those also. What motivates them to want to be better? Those are things that you really have to participate in, and really try to get to that. If you can really connect with your players, and the people, and look at them as people, and then again you set an environment where they can they can be their best. Create an environment that is welcoming, create an environment that they want to be a part of. Then that goes a long way in terms of getting them to perform at some time. So it really starts with this. And what I really want to focus the conversation tonight on is this idea of reinforcement. So again, you get into a sport or an activity, and you want to be able to how you can get better in whatever it is. If you play in a team sport, there are positions that you must learn how to play. There are skill sets that you must get good at, and how can you constantly have this state of constant improvement and getting better. And so um, that's really what I want to want to focus on. I'm going to just pause here. I'm going to see if I can try this one more time, and I'm going to see if I can get the coach in here. So I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to go to my, I'm going to try it this way. And just bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, as we do this, but I really want Coach to be, again, a part of this conversation. And, so I'm really, see if I can nail this. But yeah, certainly, those are keys that, again, that I didn't know. But even when I was getting my certifications for being a trainer, it was definitely something where, if you really wanted to be good, if you really wanted to create an environment where people wanted to come back, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about tonight is going to be important. But just give me 2 seconds while I try to get this up. Do we have I see I think that's Pete. Pete, you on?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, trying to get the coach in here. So I'm gonna try sending that link and then let me see, email it. And I'm gonna email it to myself. Yeah, he said every time he opens the link, it said it was kicking him out. So I'm not sure what
That's weird.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna do this. Send that to myself, and then I'm going to okay. So he's checking his connection. So he may have a connection issue, but I'm just gonna try this one last thing here and see if I can get him on the show. But anyway, how you doing, sir?
Not bad.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about right now, because
so again, this idea of where coaching starts, the idea of how do you connect with a with a player, with a so starting here, because this piece here is going to be part of the conversation tonight. So I think it starts with trying to understand. Now, you being a martial arts instructor yourself, what makes a student or someone join a karate school, a martial arts school. A lot of times it's going to be based on these. It's going to be based on these factors here. Wanting an environment, pleasing your parents, competition. They want fitness. A safe place or physical challenge. When guys would enroll in your martial arts school, are these any of these questions? Is this kind of what you would maybe start the conversation with when people just come into the dojo and whatnot? Do you have these
believe
kind
it
of
or not,
combos
Paul, is all of the above.
Yeah.
Is every piece playing, knowing, fun, parents, education, commitment, fitness, respect, pushing yourself, having a safe place, get away from home, being a champion. You name it, it's all of this above. There
Yeah.
is no right or wrong answer right now in this one.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought the getting away from home aspect, I can certainly see, I can relate to a lot of that. Because again, my home environment, especially when I was younger and even when I lived with my dad, again, it wasn't the most nurturing. Like you didn't feel like, sometimes you didn't feel, I'm trying to find the correct word to look for. You didn't feel validated.
Mm-hmm.
You were just kind of one in the home or whatnot. And my brother, who, back then he used to bully me a little bit, he would basically say, you're smart in the books, but you're really not smart anywhere else. And, but being on the team, that really, you sense that sense of camaraderie, that brotherhood, being a part of something. And again, like I said, I was a bench warmer. I was the guy who came in, whether we were up by 20 or down by 20. I would get in with the last crew. And if I got 2 to 3 baskets in a game or whatever, I was happy. But the practices every day, even getting yelled at, because I mean, the coach, he would yell at the superstar. So it's like, if I got yelled at, it's like, well, at least you're paying attention, So again, it wasn't, I could take it because he treated everybody the same way. He wasn't necessarily interested in trying to get to know every player or what their hot buttons were. He was who he was. If he was mad, he would curse, swear, throw things. He would do whatever.
See, that is a
Uh,
little different with martial arts schools.
mhm,
Within at least my style of teaching and my instructors, they want to get to know the student. If you
mhm,
don't get to know the student, how can you train them correctly?
mhm,
How can you break those walls down? Because some come in like very wall up, like shy or angry. I had two students, Donnie and Leo, my first two
mhm,
students, right?
mhm.
Twins. Um, their background is very tragic. Both of their parents were unfortunately killed in a car accident.
Mhm,
Leo was the shy one. Donnie was the pissed off to the world kind of kid.
mhm.
So I had to take them two separate ways. I could not train them same way. I can't do Leo and Donnie same way. Leo had to be trained one way. Donnie had to be trained a different way. So I had to break those walls down. So screaming and yelling didn't always work.
Yeah.
Y- sometimes you had to raise your voice, not like yelling at them, but like kind of
Now, is
motivate,
that your was that your style?
screaming and
Like
yelling.
you as a person, like you as a because again, everyone has their own style. Like if
Mhm.
you're a yeller, if you're and a lot of times that comes from how you were done. But were you a taskmaster? Were you a sort of nice guy? I mean, what would you describe yourself as? You go into Peter's dojo. What can I expect? You're gonna get yelled
So
at. You're
in
gonna
my
say,
early years
Mhm.
of my martial arts school, I was named by the students the meanest sensei.
Really?
I'm like, I never raised my voice, but I was just very strict with them.
Hmm.
Over the years, as I matured as a human being, as a man,
Hmm.
and as an instructor, my style changed.
Hmm.
So I talk to them more as my equal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking to a student, if you're looking down, well, it doesn't work like that. But if you
Mhm.
get down to the level, get down on your knees and start talking eye to eye, you get through to them a lot better.
Yeah. Now, did you learn that from your sensei,
I
at the
actually
time, or
learned it from
did
a
you
different guy I used to work with,
Mhm,
and he was big about getting in the kids' brains, and I agreed with it at some point.
mhm,
Even though our business deals didn't go well towards the end, but that one thing I learned through him and Professor Garrity, and I'll go and I kind of translated to that to Master Ray and Master Shin, and they tried it and like, shit, this shit fucking works, and get on their levels better
yeah,
versus talking down when you look up because you're taller than the kids. Let's be straight up here,
yeah,
and you look down like, well, you need to do your reverse punch like this. They're looking at you like, okay, you're talking down to me. Maybe not knowing it, but maybe in your brain it processes different when you're at their level
yeah,
and you're actually grabbing their hands and moving, and you're on your knees. Yeah, your knees are gonna be shot by the end of the class, but
right,
who gives a shit?
yeah, yeah,
Because I
and
I
that's
was
gonna
big.
and it yeah,
Go ahead. I was.
and that's gonna factor in a little bit later as we go through
Mhm.
the presentation tonight. That point that you just made, I think they'll come in, really handy at a certain aspect and point of this type of, philosophy that I'll be sharing tonight, so,
The one
but
thing
go
I will say is no kid will come in there committed off the bat.
Mhm,
You have to teach them commitment. You have to teach them like, um, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're driven and do it like you train all the time. You know what I'm talking about.
well, I mean, the motivation, I mean, the discipline.
Discipline. Thank you. The disciplined. They don't know that.
Mhm,
They only know, ooh, black belt. That's cool. That's all
mhm,
they know.
yeah,
So the only thing they care about is the next rank.
right,
You have to work on that with them
yeah,
on an individual level.
mhm,
So even sometimes I see one of my students struggle, I might take 10, 20 minutes during the class, after class, before class,
mhm,
whatever it takes to get the drill under their heads.
right,
Okay, why are you struggling? The katas,
mhm,
great
yeah,
example. Kids struggle with katas a lot,
mhm,
believe it or not.
right,
So what can I do to make this click? That's the key
mhm,
word, click.
yeah.
So
And is a lot of it like just memorization? Is that like the key thing to it, or is it
kata,
something
believe it
else?
or not, kata is not 100% memorization. Is actually getting the strikes correctly. That's the point of
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
It's shadow boxing. That's the best way I can explain it.
Got it.
So kata is a form of self-defense. If you
Mhm.
learn the kata, when a real situation happens, you can use the kata in a real life situation. Obviously, you're not gonna go down block, reverse punch, seat punch. You're not gonna do that.
Mhm.
But those moves are gonna be built in your head.
Mhm.
It's building the foundation. It's like building a house. All right. So if you have your foundation, you can build off that.
Yeah.
Showing a kid punch, 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 it's gonna show something. But when they see these katas and using all these moves incorporate together, to them looks cool. But when it comes down to sparring or self defense moment, like I used to put them in weird situations, like without they knowing, even before class, I might just grab them and go defend yourself right now. Oh, I just grab them and they need to defend themselves. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, you learned something. Good. I'm
Yeah.
like, I always tell them, you're always getting tested without you knowing about it.
Right.
By the time I'm testing you for your next rank, I already know you passed.
Yeah.
I just need to know you're not going to give up in the middle of my test.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well said. Well, we're going to focus tonight on strategies. How can you get, like you said, for the kids, the idea is getting a belt or going to the next belt.
Mhm.
But it's the same in any kind of sport. You want to get better at what you do. And how do you go about doing that? So, one of the things we want to talk about tonight is this, what we call a player feedback loop. Okay. So, player feedback loop, where we're going to be dealing with just different aspects of about reinforcement. How can you improve? And we're not going to be focused on any particular sport per se, but this is about methods. This is about applying something in any situation. So, Pete, I'm sure you can certainly relate to this from martial arts, or
Of course.
if you've done team sports, or even like I said, me as a PT, I use a lot of this in terms of helping someone. How do you keep a person locked in? How do you keep a person coming back and wanting to get better from week to week? So again, we're going to deal with this in detail as far as what's part of this process. What does this loop look like, and how do we apply it to our different vocations? So the first one is, again, now this can kind of start. So again, where you start with this, it can vary, but I'm starting it here, but it's a loop. So it's going to be like a cycle. So you can pick this up pretty much at any time, but a lot of it is adjustment. So again, you come in, myself, either I teach you a skill set, or Pete teaches you a skill set, or coach teaches you a skill set. Part of it is, you're going to make adjustments to that. You're going to work on your craft. So again, if it's katas, or if it's free throw shooting, where you position the ball, hand placement, technique. If your shot is off, as coaches and as trainers, we're going to correct you in terms of, what are you doing. So again, the instruction is going to be there, and it's up to you, the player, to put that into effect. We can show you what to do, but you're the one who has to do it. And again, repetition is certainly key to that. So again, making those kind of
I agree on
adjustments,
that because
making
not
changes is
only
important.
and only as a sensei, even as a player myself, because when I was in high school, I played football.
Yeah.
It's repetition, repetition, repetition. We used to do these drills 4 or 5 times a week. I'm like, damn, I'm getting bored of this shit.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize at the time, I didn't realize that was boring.
Mhm.
But doing it over and over and over, even katas. I remember when I was in my white belt and second belt, my yellow belt, even my purple belt. Why are we doing this shit over? I'm already in green belt. Why am I
Mhm.
doing a white belt kata?
Yeah.
But if I can master a white belt kata at my green level,
Yeah.
how can I be a black belt?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of times, especially with younger players, a lot of times you don't understand why is it that you're doing these things. I mean, it's almost like, I mean, the Karate Kid, I think, took it to like another level, right? Paint the house, paint the fence, wash the
But he's
car,
right.
wax the car.
It was a lot of
it
things. He's
all
right.
went towards something, but he's like, why? And even when he was doing it, like he was painting, and he said, no, there's a way you're supposed to paint. You're supposed to go up, down, and he was just working on his wrist
So
mobility.
what he was doing, I can explain that actually.
Yeah.
It's palm down, palm up. That's why I can
Yeah.
explain. I mean, I'll get
Mhm.
into Japanese technical terms. All right,
Mhm.
palm down, it's a block.
Yeah.
Up, it's a strike under
Yeah.
the chin.
Right.
So down, up, a Wing Chun block and
Mhm.
strike.
Yeah.
Same thing as side to side. Wing, block, strike, block,
Mhm.
strike, block, strike.
Yeah.
This could be a strike too.
Right.
Block
Right.
can always be reversed as a strike too.
Right.
That's one thing about martial arts you have to understand that. And
Right.
like a down block, yes, it's a down block, but a down block can be a strike too because you're coming
Mhm.
down and you're hitting that shit hard as you can.
Yeah.
So he had a lot. It might be a movie, but people don't, as martial arts teachers, as senseis, we're looking at like, oh, I know what that is. Like even reverse punch. Oh, we know what that is.
Yeah.
Like the crane kick, that was a jump kick. That's what it was. Nothing
Right.
special. But they
Right.
just gave it a fancy name. Like, oh, I know that. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Absolutely.
was actually a double jump kick.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, it makes sense to instructors.
Right.
For somebody outside of the Karate Kid who doesn't know any martial arts like yourself, you're looking at it like it's just a pain in the fence. I don't get that idea.
Yeah, and like I said, he even corrected him because he was doing it kind of like, like I'm painting the fence, like kind of this. He's like, no, like you have to. There's a certain way you have to do it. So again, the adjustments. So even when you're doing the drills or the repetition, how you do it matters. And so again, making those corrections as you're doing it and then implementing it is important. Again, you may not necessarily get it all in terms of why you're doing it that way. But again, if you continue on this cycle, if you continue on this loop, things will start to make sense over a while. So again, you make these adjustments. Now you have to implement them and put them into practice. And so this is the next part of it. Again, the I'm sorry, this should have been, I think I messed this up. This actually should have been,
Cool.
and I'll make a correction. This is the action decision. So on action decision is where again you start putting in what you put in practice. You start actually implementing in the game or in the drill or in the practice or what have you. So when you spar, right? I mean, so like in
Mhm.
your case, um, in your case when you when you're working with somebody and okay, now you got to square off. You know, let's see what you learned. Has any of what these drills that we've been doing, and you may look at these drills over and over and over again, but is it having an impact on what it is what you're doing? So so again, that's also important. You have to see this stuff in action. So it's action and decision. I'm literally making these changes as this
On
is
the
going
fly.
on. And so again, the moment in the game or the practice. So the moment. So again, I mean, this is where really um, where it comes into play, and you may not even feel yourself doing it, or you may not feel as you're going through it like the improvement, right, of what you're doing. But again, it's one thing to go and do your katas on the side or do your practice on the side, but when you put it into the game, is really where you start to see things, really come about. So
So
your thoughts
my
on this?
students used to ask me this all the time. Why do we do this over and over and over and over? It's called muscle memory. Simple as
Mhm,
that. So when you're in that situation that you need to use your martial arts to defend yourself, and some whatever reason it is,
mhm,
a school fight, a bar fight, a street fight, whatever, you know what you need to do. Your
right.
muscle memory is gonna kick in. You're not gonna think. You're just gonna
That's it.
react.
Yeah. Well,
And
even I think even Bruce Lee, he talked about this idea of like thinking, unthinking. Like sometimes, when you think too much in a fight, you telegraph moves, or it's just that it just doesn't flow. You want to get to this point, like he
believe it
talks
or
about be
not,
like water. You want it like these moves should be almost like reactionary moves. You're like how'd that happen? But that doesn't happen without that practice,
correct.
without that
So
adjustments that you're making.
with the telegraphing part, is very common, very very common for kids to do that. Even adults who let's say you got into martial arts now at your age, right?
Mhm.
the first few years, you're gonna be telegraphing like crazy.
Yeah.
Once you realize to stop thinking and just go for it, I want the moves to be as natural as walking.
Mhm.
That's why katas are so important to master them.
Mm.
Once you get the katas mastered, sparring is coming in the second nature.
Mhm.
It's like walking. I'll give you two good examples. All right. Do you remember Karate Kid 3 he learned that kata and then he
Yeah.
used it in the tournament?
Yeah.
I know this kind of overreaction a little bit, but
Yeah.
they're similar. Same thing. Same thing with Cobra Kai. Daniel just
Mhm.
taught him a kata, him and his daughter and the student, and he ended up they're using it actually in a real fight.
Mhm.
Not move to move, but technique wise. That is a good example.
Yeah.
Same thing with football. You learn these drills over and over, left, right, dash, whatever, right?
Mhm.
But when you don't think about it, when you're in the game, like you're going for the ball, you know the guy has the ball. I play defense, so I'm stopping the guy with the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm tackling him like it came second natural of me. It ain't
Right.
like I didn't have to think. If you think, you lose. If you natural, you win. That was
Yeah.
the motto we had.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can even speak to the team sports or the football aspect again. The physical training, not just the drills, but also in the gym. You know, if you're in there, you're doing deadlifts, you're doing squats, bench press, you're doing kettlebell, whatever your mode of training is, and now I think a lot of the taboos are off because again, in my generation, unless you were playing football, they didn't really encourage a lot of weight training. If you play basketball, baseball, they talk about, oh, you'll get muscle bound and whatnot. And now, pretty much everyone does some form of strength training or weightlifting or something in all sports, soccer, any sport, that they're doing this. And again, you might be saying, thinking to yourself, well, why is it that I'm doing all this work in the gym and why I'm in the squat rack and whatnot? But again, it's in the game where a lot of times that's going to show up. It may not be obvious, but you may be like, oh, you're a little stronger or your stamina is a little bit better than when it was before. You're not as winded, especially late in the game, that you can still play at a relatively high level. So those are things that you have to also consider. But again, until you put those things into practice, you'll never really learn. Even if you fail, right? Even if you lose, you got to be able to do that. And Eric, I think he makes a good point here. You can do all the drills, in the katas that you want, but again, also had to get over his fear of getting hit because my worst beatings happened in the dojo. Kid wants to kick his butt after school.
So
Amused me.
I have a solution to that with kids. All right.
Mhm.
They were so scared to get hit. All right. I told them put a headgear on. All right. And now they're scared. They know it's coming. Hey, I'm going to nail them hard as I can. Literally with this headgear on. All right.
Mhm.
This gear, headgear is about, I think I can use it in my closet. I can grab it really fast. About 12-inch thick padding. You're not going to feel anything. I don't give a shit how hard you hit it.
12 inches thick.
Yeah, it's thick.
Okay, so this isn't like what they use in competition then.
Our competitions, yes, you could use it because we're not trying to kill each other. It's competition, obviously. But
Right.
it's only headgear and gloves. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The torso's open, all right? But they were so scared to get hit in the face. That was the worst part for everybody, all right? I use the head for a reason because I have headgear. I can get away with this shit. I go, all right, get ready. You're going to fight me now. I go, whoop! And you hear the pat, smack. I go, he looks at me like, oh, that didn't hurt, sensei. I go, yeah, that's the point, kid. Simple. This is why we do conditioning. This is why we hit ourselves so many times. Like I usually hit my arms for hours doing this with somebody else over and over and over to the point I can do this. I don't feel this ball. I'm hitting it hard as I can right now. Like, oops, sorry, Apollo. I just woke him up. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I did. It sounded like a cat. Wow.
Yeah. So I can literally go to your house right now, pick anything in your house or outside, and tell me hit it. Okay. Let me know when we stop. Might be a little black and blue the next day, but I won't feel things.
Right. So
That's
I guess you use that
part.
if you did. I don't know if you did like brick breaking or wood
Why?
breaking, or whatever.
Did the brick ever do to you? Did it hit you back?
What's that?
That brick ever hit you back?
No, I'm just saying, but the fact that you're conditioning yourself for that, you say you don't feel it. So when you do break bricks or
We
things
didn't
of that
really
nature.
focus on brick breaking in my dojo
Okay.
because, like Master Ray, you say, "What the fuck the brick did he do to you? Why are you going to hit him for?" I'm like, "It's cool. I wanted to break." I'm like, "Well, we did a little bit here and there, like a treat, but it wasn't a thing we did." The class boulder came out. That was the thing we did. The boulder was literally as tall as me on wheels. He pushed it in, and we just go to town and just start hitting it over and over and over and over. He goes, "I'll be right back." 45 minutes later, son of a bitch is sleeping in his office, and we're hitting away.
Mhm.
He wants to know we're not going to give up. That's the discipline part of it.
Mhm.
Your hands are fucked up afterwards, but it builds such a great condition to your hands. When you hit, you're gonna hit. Like I used to wrap my hands in when I started teaching, like Master Ray used to do. I never
Right.
understood why he wrapped his hands because martial arts and wrap hands don't really go hand in hand.
Mhm.
I go, Master Ray, why'd you hit him? Like, I'm gonna answer that when you're a sensei. I'm like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Now I
Gotcha.
know. Because
Gotcha.
if you go take my knuckle and I tap you a little bit on your forehead,
Mm.
that's how my hands are conditioned so much over these years, and they're still gonna be there. It gives you like a little headache. Ow! I wrapped them when I used to train with the kids.
Mhm.
If some reason I hit them by accident, accidents do happen in sports.
Gotcha.
It's
Gotcha.
not gonna hurt that much for them.
Right. Right. All right. Next one. So again, we started with you make the adjustments in your practice. Now you have to put that into the game to see what you've
Application.
learned. But again, you shouldn't be by yourself here. Here's where the coaching comes in, because there's going to be that observation again. So the coach watches the action decision. So again, you're never because again you think you may be doing well, but you always need that eye, that voice outside of yourself to see really what's going on. And now with coaches now they're using video and recording on the iPhone, and so you can see yourself. Because I might be doing, and again, you might be even when you're working out, you may thinking, yeah, I'm doing it right, but then the coach is there to assess. No, you're not. You think you're doing it properly, or you're doing it too fast. Oh, I wasn't doing it too fast, and then I play back the video. It's like, oh yeah, I was doing it too fast. Yeah, I mean, so again, having that observation of a coach to really monitor what you're doing. This is where we start to have our value. Whether you be a coach, whether you be a trainer or a mentor, you need someone looking at and evaluating what your what your where your weaknesses are, or to see if you are making those improvements. And the coach is going to be like, going to come up to you at the end and say, "Hey, you're doing a good, you're doing a good job here. I'm seeing, and keep doing more." Or as a coach, you may have to make an adjustment. So just like as the student, you make an adjustment. You may have to say, as a coach, to say, okay, I see how they're doing that, but maybe I need to have them go in this direction. They're kind of getting it, but maybe I can make it easier, or maybe I can make it, where it sticks more. So you're making adjustments as a coach in terms of seeing the progress or the stagnation of the player, and then as a coach you have to reassess the is what you're doing, is it working, or is it working fast enough, or as a coach do I need to make an adjustment to the kids. So you talk about
So
understanding your kids. This is where that observation as the coach has so it's for the player and as well as the coach to kind of
I
really have
have a
a good
love
idea what they're doing.
relationship with this. I'll tell you why.
Mm,
Master Ray was a big about recording every single match, so he can review them and see how can he improve or fix whatever student, because he
mm,
cannot be in every goddamn match. There are 10, 20 matches going on once. He cannot be at 10, 20 matches at once.
mm,
Let's say in every division, for argument's sake. It didn't, but let's say
yeah,
it did. On the maximum, we're talking about maybe 5 to 6 on the low end. On the high
mhm,
hand, maybe 10 per kid. All right. He can't be in every places. Yes, he had his other instructors, but his other instructors are all over the place. We are only so many of us, right?
mm,
So the rear camera came. He had the big one, the old school, like you remember, like you remember the
yeah,
old ones you put
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's what we had.
mhm,
So fast forward to early 20s, and when I was actually teaching again, and I was teaching up here in Mount Pocono, not going to name the school. Me and an instructor, I kind of did. He was, we kind of disagreed. I go, dude, we need to record. I'm like, no, we don't need to do that. I'm like, dude, yes, you do, because you need to go back and see where they fucked up. Simple.
Mhm.
Because the real application happens at a tournament.
Mhm.
Because you can practice with your classmates 100 times.
Yeah.
I mean, you can practice every single day.
Right.
Eventually, you're gonna know my moves, and I know your moves. I know your weakness. You know my weaknesses. We
Right.
can make that stronger.
Right.
But what makes you really good is when you're training at a tournament. That's what tournaments are so sweet.
Yeah.
It's not only about the medals.
Right.
It's putting the real application into action.
Right. Well, that's what, again, that goes back to the action decision. I mean, it's like, well, that's when you really know, have you implemented something? Or are you seeing the improvements? Is when you start to put that into a real physical. So again, you talked about the headgear. And now, again, I know some organizations, some permits, headgear is mandatory in certain aspects. But
Tournaments
again,
are always mandatory in karate tournaments.
not all. I mean,
In the United
I've seen
States right
some.
now, if you're doing a karate tournaments, I'm not talking about Olympic style. I'm talking about
Well, the
amateur
Olympic style
tournaments.
for sure, but I'm talking about if you look at like the Kyosho Shinkai, world tournaments and whatnot, all those guys know headgear. I mean, it's pretty brutal. But again, for a lot of these, it depends on the sanction organization, obviously, and obviously with the Olympics and whatnot, they don't want to see guys getting knocked out, comatose, and carried off. But from what I understand, and Eric, you correct me if I'm wrong, those like Fighting Black Kings, those Kyosho Shinkai, all that was, no gear, no pads, and you went out and yeah, I mean, and it
Back
was
in the
also
day when I first started, it was wrap your hands, cup check, mouth beer, and that's it. Now
Mhm.
they have it to the point that you don't the mandatory right now, and
Mhm.
you can't get any kind of gear. There is specific gear they want you to get.
Yeah,
And
covers your ears. You don't want the
I think it's
cauliflower
right in my
ears.
closet, right behind my monitor. I'm gonna grab it really
Mhm.
fast in a minute.
Mhm.
It's literally you don't have to get P2s or P1s or Central, but they want certain ones.
Mhm.
So like they have some ones you put your fingers through it. That doesn't count.
Mhm.
So those are more grappling ones. But
Mhm.
on a regular tournament, I'm not talking grappling. I'm talking about karate, kung fu, chenkudo, all those stuff. Those are usually headgear requirement and headgear, gloves, and pads and cups and
Right.
mouth gear. And those
Right.
are the 6 mandatory ones.
Gotcha.
You continue talking. I'm gonna grab that really fast, actually.
Okay. So again, I mean, the coach's observation is also vital to the process because again, you may think you're improving, but again, a coach will know. Now, again, this is where the coach's role really comes in. So we started out with making the adjustments. You then put those adjustments into action. Those actions are going to be observed by a coach. And then after the observation, and again, this is where it really gets important. Now, the feedback. Okay. Again, short, specific, useful. All right. This is coaching. This is training at its best level. So again, after the game, it could either be in game, it could even sometimes be in practice. But generally after the game, you're looking at tape, you're looking at video of everything, and then the next time you go into the adjustments. So if I go back, to again adjustments, is where that feedback comes in. So again, so you can go from well, that's it, yeah.
I don't know if this got smaller or my head got bigger.
Probably a little of both, but
Oh, shut up over there.
but again, this sort of relationship between again the feedback and the adjustments is really important. Where a coach can really kind of give you that. So again, I'm sure you've done it in the dojo. I mean, it's like after a tournament, I'm sure Master Ray, yourself, or what have you, you're going to take the student and be like, hey, here's where you're doing better. Here's what still needs to be improved. And this is where, again, that feedback can really make a difference with how you do it. Now, some feedback isn't necessarily the most positive. Again, it depends on your coaching style. And I know some, it's like, hey, you can get chewed out, or some you can get the soft touch or whatever. I think this is where, again, knowing your player or knowing your the guy you're training, I think those things really help in terms of as far as helping them to to improve. So all that's also important. So again, talk about the feedback
Well, and I'm
aspect
gonna
of it.
cut you off. I think we have a
Mhm.
special guest in the chat and finally popped his head up after so many years.
Oh my gosh, I was about to blank him out too. But Pop Culture Warrior, certainly in the chat tonight. What's going on with you, sir? Certainly good to have you on here. Make sure you follow again. Pop Culture Warrior. Follow their YouTube channel. I'm sorry, Nation. What's the
WFT Nation.
WFT Nation. Go and make sure you follow there. But surely those guys, they're growing a huge channel over there as well. And always good being with those guys. So again, shout out to you and thanks for stopping by tonight. Really appreciate
Yeah.
you guys.
So let me
coming.
ask you, Q. Do you think my head got bigger or this got smaller on me? Which one it is? Because it pretty fits on me now.
Hey, I'll let him decide if he wants to give that
Shut up over there.
give that feedback or not. But talk about that aspect of, again, the feedback that you may get. Here's WTF Nation Radio. Definitely make sure you guys check them out. But talk about the feedback. So after a
Feedback is
tournament,
a
after a
huge thing, I
game,
think.
because I really think that's really the most crucial time, or that player coach relationship, or that teacher mentor relationship, trainer trainee relationship.
So
I
my
think that's really what
instructor,
makes and breaks relationships. I think that's really, for me, this area right here can really make the difference between someone either improving or staying with you, or finding another path. Is in this piece right here. But go ahead.
so my instructor never had a time like give you negative feedback. He gave you the positive feedback first because the positive feedback is the building blocks. He believed you have
Mm,
your foundation now. Let's build from that. How to build, like building a house. So it's a big part of sitting, getting on your knees, speaking to the student, all that stuff during that time. Tell him what good he did during that tournament.
mm,
That's it.
mm,
Now, when you're back at the dojo, day, 2 days, 3 days later, that's when you start breaking down. Okay, you did good here, but you kind of messed up here.
yeah.
So where do we fucked up? In other words, and how do
Mm,
we fix up the fuck ups?
mm,
And that's where the training comes in the dojo.
yeah.
If you have a good sensei or master, he knows how to pick those out and how to fix those.
Yeah.
Like, for example, spin kicks were my worst thing for me to block.
Mm,
I always got nailed with them.
mm,
And eventually he broke it down and he worked with me and worked with me and worked with me. And to the point where it was second nature. Now I'm using against them, their own deep moves. That's
mm.
the best way to do it.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. All right. So the last part of the loop that we'll deal with, and again, that feedback can come in game. Sometimes it can come in game. Like,
Mhm.
so let's say if you're in a tournament, there's rounds, right? So sometimes that feedback is going to come in the middle of the tournament after each round. I don't know how many rounds that you guys would go to before to
Usually
determine a
3
winner.
days, most tournaments.
3. Okay. So
Yeah,
again,
most of them,
so
not all of
even
them.
then you're going to be getting feedback. But really, I think this gets back on the player. What makes, I think, in my view, oh, awesome. What makes a good player or trainer, or what makes you think that the person is going to really take this to the next level? This is all on the player. But a lot of it, again, is based on the feedback and the connection that you have with the person that you're working with. And that is the reflection. The player, how you process that feedback is so important. But again, how you take it depends on, again, that coach. If you got a coach who's going to curse you out or say you suck or whatever. Now, again, some guys are motivated by that. If you're that type of player, you need the coach to be on you and tell they don't want to be built up. Don't tell me that I'm good when I'm not. Give me the truth. If I stunk it up that day, I want to know about it.
In my
And some
personal
kids,
experience,
and sometimes you got to have you have to have kid gloves. So again, sometimes this is where again that first slide about what you want in a player, like I said, that can really make a difference in terms of your method of giving the feedback.
Hmm.
So again, having that relationship, having that understanding, there's what you say to the team corporately, and then there's what you say to the player or the individual one on one. And you can certainly help yourself when you have these things kind of figured out. But if not, the feedback that you give may not be so well received. So again, and I've been in this place also. Yeah, I'm a bench warmer, I'm getting chewed out. But then the idea is that okay, this moment right here, this is the moment of the decision. You're either gonna take it and get better, or you're gonna sulk and pout and think about maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe do I want to quit, or am I gonna go in next time even more so, even more determined than I was last time? There's a delicate balance here. There's no, to
Yeah,
me, in this, there's no absolute, but this moment right here is going to make a difference between here and back to here.
So with kids, at least the kids I trained, tell them they suck is not going to do well. They just want to quit at that point. Kids don't really take that negative to positive enforcement.
Mhm.
You want to give them the positive first, and then you break down what you did wrong to fix it. Teens are a completely different story. You can tell them they suck.
Mhm.
You can tell you that's a horrible roundhouse kick, dude. Like,
Mhm.
you gotta work on that. Or that is shit. We need to work on. Adults, you do that all day long.
I see it. That I don't. I mean, I've seen enough sports. I've been in, certainly teen sports. I haven't gone past that, but I've seen even in adult sports.
Mhm.
At every level, how you talk to an adult, and especially some adults, it's like they don't care who you are. It's like you're not going to talk to me that way, and or you're not gonna treat me that way. So again, I think at every level, again, NBA professionals or whatnot, there's some who can take it and some who can't. And so I don't think it's necessarily just assigned to kids in terms of, okay, you kind of have encouragement with the kids, and then with adults you can say anything you want. Everyone is different because everyone is coming from someplace.
I'm
You know
just
what I mean?
saying you can get away with it a lot more with teens and
You
adults.
you might.
Yeah, not all of them individually. I'm talking about every person's different, of course.
Right. But
Clear
if I
that.
go back to but if I go back to here too, I think adults want this. A lot of adults want this as much as kids do. Again, especially when you talk about the get away from home kid. The get away from home kid is already dealing with a bunch of negative, or even as the adult, the reason why you got into sports, the reason why you became good at sports was because you wanted to get away from a bad home situation. And a lot of times we may get good at the game, but we may not lose or get away from the trauma that we were trying to escape from. We tried to escape, but we never really addressed it. And that is why a lot of times you have adults who, again, if they haven't really come to terms with their mental. So again, when we talk about the pies of the show, you could be a grown adult. And if you haven't dealt with your intellectual, your emotional, your spiritual health, you could be physically dominant, but you could be a child still on the inside. And we see this with a lot of professional athletes. So I don't think they're immune from these things. And again, if certain things were not necessarily right, again, sports for a lot of people was the way out of an abusive relationship or an abusive relationship with their dad or something, or their mom or something. And then they got into this, and now they're at the next level, and they have a coach or they have somebody who's in their ear giving them kind of the same stuff, but they never took the time to really deal with that aspect of themselves. There's a lot of man-childs out there, man-boys, man-girls, or woman girls that's still out there. But this part here, again, I can get better, I can get bitter, or I can get better. I can take what the coach was saying and I can improve it, and I can go right back to, again, the adjustments and get better for next time. And all of this makes up the again, the loop, the cycle. So again, this feedback loop cycle starts with, you can start it either with adjustments or action decision. There's going to be observation of what you're doing, where the coach is going to be watching what you're doing. There's going to be that feedback. Then there's the reflection, again, how the player handles it. And if they handle it well, they'll make the adjustments. And then you repeat the loop again. So again, coaching in this kind of environment where they have the ability to make adjustments, they put that into play, coaches observe, help them to correct and help them get better, player processes, and then they get right back out again. And again, the faster the loop, the faster the player development. But if you're having to pick up a kid up all the time after a game or whatever, if they're not, if they can't handle that, because again, to make corrections is hard. To take criticism is hard for a lot of people.
I give you
But
a
that's
great
how
example.
you grow. But that's, again, taken in the right context, that's how you grow.
I'll give you a good example. One of the tournaments I went to, not and like a lot of tournaments. This is when I first became a sensei. It was one student from a different school. Can I say their names? Yeah, I can say them. American Karate, they were known as. All right. And this student, every time she lost a tournament, she would have a full down male breakdown, crying, kicking, screaming, because she was a sore loser too, on top of that.
Yeah.
So not only you need to be able to handle the defeat, you also have to be, not so loser. You up. And I always tell my students, them win or lose, go up there and shake their hands,
Mhm.
show the respect. Big thing.
Mhm.
That's one thing I like about our sports. If you watch, like after any game, all the players go shake each other's hands, or hug each other, joking and laughing. Don't the field, they want to kill each other half the fucking times,
Mhm.
but they're always shaking each other's hands afterwards.
Yeah. 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 Sportsmanship, those things are, all those are part of the, all those are part of the of maturing, of
Correct.
being a good athlete, a good sport on and off the field or off the mat or wherever you're at. But again, this loop, all right, this can be very useful if you're interested in really player development or student development, or again, trainee development. All these things are going to be in play. Like I said, even in training, I have what's called a crash couch. And a lot of times, after a workout, again, guys are pretty exhausted. They're pretty wiped. And we get on that couch. And a lot of times my feedback and reflection is going to be right there. Because the observation, I'm literally guiding I'm observing and I'm correcting even during the set. Because again, we're doing these repetitions and we're doing them relatively slowly under control. If you're going too fast, I'm going to say slow it down. I'm going to be cueing certain muscles that I want activated at certain times in the movement. In a chest press, the chest press only goes about halfway up is where the chest gets worked. From the midpoint to the end of when you press out, that's the tricep. So again, I'm cueing, always correcting during the exercise. And then at the end, we get the feedback. The feedback might be, I may show them the forms, I may show them the progression over the last few weeks, and then we can learn from that. We can, so the observation and feedback, I'm showing them what their progress has been like, and if they've been showing steady progress across the board, I got very little negative feedback. Or the feedback's going to be, you're doing a great job, locked in, you're really in a good place right now, let's just keep it going. Or if I see plateaus where they're not improving, I can show them that again in the feedback. And then we may have to have a conversation about, again, what are some of the blockers? What's going on that's maybe preventing them from getting progressive results? It could be diet or lack thereof. It could be sleep or lack thereof. It could be stress. A variety of factors that can keep a person from doing their best. When it comes to, or like I said, hitting a plateau and can't getting over it. And again, me observing, that's also, again, my time if I have to switch things up. Either I may have to change the order of certain exercises or take certain exercises out or lessen the volume overall. So it's as much of an opportunity for me to correct and make adjustments as it is the player. Because again, I am, in my case, client focused. And so I want to make sure that they are improving, getting the best out of the circumstances. But again, I want them always trying to improve. And so again, this loop here helps me in training. I'm sure it helps you in the dojo. I'm
Mhm.
sure it would help coach on the basketball court. But again, all these things can really help us. And I'm sure even in the business world where you have, take it out of the world of sports, in, when you have life coaches or you have those professional trainers and whatnot, it's the same thing. In terms of your mindset, your habits, your study habits, your organizational habits, you put those into action. The coach may observe what you're doing, give you positive feedback. You reflect on it, and then you make adjustments.
Of course.
So again, you can apply this almost in any endeavor, but in particular, certainly in the sports world, you can certainly make this a valuable tool. This sort of feedback loop that you can help kids be better, men and women be better at all levels. And so, this was the conversation that we wanted to have tonight. Again, the first part one of the series dealt with the idea of the different types of vocations. So you have coaches, you have trainers, you have mentors, and you have consultants. Each one's job is a little bit different. They play to different audiences or audience size. There's some that are generally specific in their suggestions, and some that are open in their suggestions because the idea is they want you to come to your own solutions instead of just telling you what to. As a trainer, I'm going to tell you what to do, but as a coach, I may be working on how you're thinking rather than just giving you a play. Sometimes in a game, especially a quarterback, a lot of times the quarterback is calling the plays because he's seeing it from a perspective that even the coaches aren't able to see. And so getting the quarterback's mindset right is what's really at play, and thinking about the game in certain ways is important, not just the play. As a trainer, I'm interested in the play. We're doing this. We're going to do it this way. We're going to do it for a certain amount of reps. We're going to do it with a certain amount of weight. We're going to track it, and we're going to repeat it next week. But coaching is looking at the game in totality, not just the specifics.
What makes me think? Obviously, we know professional football, the quarterbacks have radios in their helmets to talk back and forth with the coach.
Mm-hmm.
But in high school level, they don't have that.
No.
So how much they communicate with the coach? That's the question now.
Well, yeah, and that's definitely different than it was back in the day. I mean, certainly before this technology got to where it was. The quarterback, he was the guy on the field, or he had the ability to improvise. Yes, you can throw in the play, but I'm seeing they sniffed it out. So can you call an audible? Can you call something on the fly that may fly in the face of the play that was fed into your helmet? You have to be able to think independently at times, even though you practice that play over and over again, and the coach, the offensive coordinator may call it. At the end of the day, you got to make the call on the field. and play it as you see it. So, those are things that, um, again, this part of that feedback loop. Okay, so if you're the quarterback, you're gonna definitely go through this because the coach is gonna be observing you and the coach after the game. You're gonna have feedback. There's film room. There's Monday morning. Everyone's gonna be in the team facility, and everybody's getting feedback. Now, some of that feedback is public, meaning everyone's gonna know that you messed up, and sometimes it's gonna be private. And so, those are things that, but how you take it. Now, like I said, back in the day, the coach yelled at everybody. So you didn't feel that sense of isolation that, oh, he's just coming at me or whatever. And what about the other guy? No, everyone got chewed out, even the superstar. And more so the superstar because, again, he's the most talented, but sometimes he didn't always show up, if that makes sense. He tried the
Absolutely.
most,
Every player has good days and bad days.
but again, but even good days and bad days, it's not. It should never be because of lack of effort. You know what I'm saying? You should. All right, peace out. Peace out. Pop Culture Warrior. Again, check him out. Again, thanks for stopping by. But
So,
it should
dude,
never be for lack of effort. It should never be that the mindset. Yes, you are talented. Yes, you have physical gifts that other people don't have. But are you in the game mentally? Are you in the game? Are you giving it one? Are you running all out? Are you just jogging up the court or jogging up the field? Or if there's a play that means, let's say you don't get the play, they steal the ball. Are you going to go after the other team aggressively to take that person down to prevent them from scoring or whatever it is? Are you going to be active on can you switch from an offensive mode to a defensive mode? I've seen players in games, star players, they don't get the ball and they sulk. Literally on the
for instance,
field.
great example. Because if you remember, the last team we played, I can't remember what it was. The Pioneers, I think it was. On the sidelines, he used to throw a fit. He used
Yeah.
to throw the tablet, kick shit, and like, you're supposed to be a professional player, dude. Relax.
Yeah. Which is why I'm saying, going back to that earlier slide that I was saying earlier, this stuff still matters to a lot of people. You know what I mean? This idea of, again, what they want. Yes, you're an adult, but some never grow out of this. And that could go to some places where, again, they're physically gifted and strong and powerful and they got talent, but that kid is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, they never grow out of it. So, these are certainly, again, certainly these are important things to keep in mind. Shout out to King Smith in the building tonight. Appreciate you being here talking about, so he went to a coach's clinic and again, these same principles were being taught. Excellent. Excellent. Like I said, I think they apply in all types of different, areas in your life. But again, having a good coach, a good mentor, a good trainer, they're going to help you with all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the more but that feedback reflection is going to make the difference on whether or not are you going to make the adjustments. Are you going to take what they said seriously and apply so that when you put it into the game and you'll start to see the improvements? Again, it may not come quickly, but it'll certainly, hopefully you start to, when that light goes on in your head, it's like, now I know what the coach had me doing that. And that, and now you can really be more useful and more impactful to your team. So this, again, player feedback loop. This is part 2 of our series. And again, shout out to Coach. He had some connection difficulties, so definitely looking forward to having for part 3, and it will even take an early portion of the show to certainly review some of this here. Certainly, I'd like to get his 2 cents on the feedback loop, and how he's been able to implement it certainly in his actual coaching, and hopefully we'll be able to we'll so Eric has asked me here, says, What are the recollections of Joe Policastro as a coach? Now, again, I never played football for Holland. So, Coach P, as he was known to, he was the high school football coach, but he was also the gym teacher. So I only knew him as a gym teacher. Now I had Coach Saipod as my basketball coach. So I understood that, but I never had the opportunity. I mean, in gym, Coach P, nice. He didn't yell and scream at people, but the football experience, I have no idea because I never played. But certainly legendary figure, and he ran a very successful program for Highland Park High School for a lot of years. A small town, a small school, but they were competitive in there. I think they were Group 1, so they were amongst the small schools, but they did very well. Certainly during the time I was there in the 80s, certainly for a long time. So again, rest in peace to Coach P. But again, but certainly, I'm sure, again, him being effective, I hope he used something like this. But again, some coaches, they instill fear in you. Now, again, you don't have as many, but they're still out there. I mean, and again, especially if you are, because a lot of these coaching assignments, I mean, these are paid positions. So when you bring salary into it, I mean, a lot of the stuff may sound great, but, bottom line is organizations are going to pay you a decent amount of money, and all they want is wins. So a lot of these organizations, they don't care how you do it. Like Al Davis of the Raiders used to say, just win, baby. And some guys, they had the fear of God in them. And if you didn't perform, you were out. So again, there's other methodologies out there, but I think this is a useful one. And again, like I said, it has a lot of application in a lot of different places. But I think certainly we're in a culture and society now where it's definitely more advantageous because, again, you can't go into a room cursing all the players out anymore.
Those days are gone now. They're gone, and they're not even exist anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate. I mean, someone's winning. So I'm like,
you have a good point there.
If the idea is to win, if the dinosaur coach, if the yelling, screaming, ranting, throwing things coach, if that guy's being weeded out of the game, and that has happened because you've had, again, especially with cell phone technology, you've had some of these guys. In fact, Rutgers had a basketball coach, and he was fired because someone took some video. This might be about like 10, 12 years ago. And somebody, recorded in practice how he was treating the players. And he was basically fired. So, yeah. I mean, a lot of things are just not tolerated. Abusing players, the certain words you would call players, the F word, a gay slur, that was thrown around a lot.
I think it was the
P word was thrown around a lot. You guys are a bunch of P's and just all kinds of like Coach Saipod, his favorite line, again, I won't recite it word for word, but he's like, you guys play like old people fornicate. Old and sloppy, slow and sloppy. I mean, that was just he was just
I don't know if you remember this movie, Air Bud. You remember that one?
Air Bud? No, not offhand.
Yeah, okay. So it was a scene in there. The kid missed a shot. It was in a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach is literally throwing the basketballs at him. And at some point, I don't remember the scene completely. Mm-hmm. The principal realized what was going on and got him fired on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up hiring it to somebody else. But it just tells you now is that they were living. You can't abuse people anymore like that. Back in the day.
Well, we even see it from. I mean, we talked about it earlier. I mean, Karate Kid, right? The end of Karate Kid. After Johnny lost, Kreese
choked him out.
Yeah, and choked him out. Yeah. So I mean, so I guess it doesn't surprise me that it happened back then. But again, I think you have fewer creases out there than you do.
Could that happen in the karate world? Yes, it could happen. Mm-hmm. Have I seen it personally? No.
Mm.
If that
Yeah.
answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, and again, hopefully you don't. But again, that mindset of Crease was that of a lot of coaches in a lot of different sports. And like I said, you operated in fear. The Bill Belichick's of the world, the Bill Parcells of the world. Yeah, they would kind of give you encouragement, I guess, after a while. But listen to some of their former players, or watch some of the mic'd up videos of these guys and how they operated. Not so much Belichick, but certainly Bill Parcells. And I was like, my gosh, that guy was ruthless. He would say whatever, didn't care about building up your ego. Like, this is a football team. You want to play football or not? You got to play the game the way I want you to play it.
Correct.
And there were very few exceptions. So, but again, I think we can certainly put a bow certainly on this show. Now, don't want it to run too long. Again, Coach, hopefully we'll have him back next week. And again, we could do a recap of this show and then get into our part 3, where we're going to go into some more specific principles, coaching principles that, again, have universal application. That'll be our part 3 and final in this series. But hopefully you guys have been enjoying the series. Make sure you go back and watch the previous show, Coaching on coaching, the first show we did last week. And but with that, we're going to start
Before
to
we go, I have a question for you.
Sure
All right.
thing.
It's just sports related. So the division rounds coming up this week.
Mhm.
Who's your money on? Who are you rooting for?
Well, certainly the Bills. I'm picking the Bills to upset Denver. I think Josh Allen, I think this is his window to try to win a championship and get to a Super Bowl. And I think that, his quarterback play is going to be crucial in doing that. I like him in the upset. I like Houston. That defense can actually win a championship. I think very dominant, obviously, against the Steelers. And they're like the 85 Bears, which I think they're overrated, but they had one good year in 1985, or the 2000 Ravens, or the 2002 Buccaneers. I think their defense, if you give that team 14 points, they can win a game for you. And so certainly they're dangerous on the NFC side. I'll pick. I'm picking the Bears over the Rams. The Rams can't stop anybody on offense, and I think Chicago is showing me something. So I'm picking the Bears in that matchup, and I'm picking Seattle over San Francisco because I think San Francisco has too many injuries. They lost their tight end last week's game. So again, they're the walking wounded, and I just think that Seattle. I think they're just healthier and they have more on offense. So yeah, those are my. What's that?
I do see the Bills winning it. I do see the 49 winning it. I see Texans winning it, and I see the Rams winning it. The reason I pick Texans, I don't like the Patriots. As simple as that. But what is your prediction for Super Bowl? Who are you thinking 2 teams?
Right now, oh boy, that's tough. I'm kind of liking Houston. It's either Houston or Buffalo in the East, or I'll pick Seattle in the NFC because I think they're the healthiest and I think they're the most complete. So, but if you really want to pin me down, I'm favoring Houston. I think their defense, they can hold their own, and the only team I can see beating them is Buffalo, and in particular because of Josh Allen. And I think this is, because prior to Josh Allen, he had opportunities, but Patrick Mahomes, he couldn't beat him. It was like back in the 80s and 90s when teams were trying to beat Michael Jordan. Like the Knicks, they had really good teams in the 90s, but they couldn't beat Michael Jordan. Yeah, and I think that's kind of similar to what it was there. Patrick Mahomes was the Michael Jordan.
I'm putting my money on the Bills to beat in the Super Bowl, at least.
Yeah, I can see it.
Because partially I'm being a little more favoritism than I'm on the team because it is a New York team and my New York roots saying you got to root for New York
team. They never won one, so it'd be cool if they.
I'd love to see them. Yeah,
if they did.
So, all
right, guys. But appreciate you guys being here tonight. Shout out to the chat, and again, make sure before you leave, make sure you hit the like button. Certainly as you leave the show, but certainly for Pete. For stepping in tonight. It goes to Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. Panayotis. Certainly, No, I appreciate you being here and again filling in for it. But
I
certainly,
want to apologize. I couldn't get here sooner. I was in the middle of walking up.
oh, you're
Apollo
fine.
text me.
It's fine. Like I said, I really appreciate you stepping up. And like I said, next week we'll have the coach back. But certainly for myself, Mr. Bennett, and for the Ghost of Sparta, this is Next Gen Training on the Sparta HQ Network. Again, make sure you like and subscribe. And always I got to show the mug. All right, you got to start selling some merch. We got to start having some merch on the show. So as you can see, I am the 7B president on the Sparta HQ Network, but we may have to get some merch and start selling that.
This is a prototype. I'm working on merch right now. So
yeah. So we have to put that in there. But we appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. For myself, Pete, take care. God bless, and we will see you next time. Good night.